there is another thing that's been going on, and you'll be very excited to know that Dungeons and Dragons is getting made into a movie. Great stuff.
Yay.
There's men in it, and the writers have been very explicit about the fact that they've enjoyed emasculating their male leads, and I can in fact read you the quote if you bear with me a second. Right, doing their part to continue one of the most uninspired entertainment in recent years, the directing duo of Jonathan Goldstein and John Daly have admitted that their upcoming Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves emasculates its male leads. They claim it wasn't done for woke reasons, but because they thought the idea was funny and fun and fresh. Now,
Okay.
I don't know how funny you guys think it is or how fresh it is, but like after about 10 years of this, it doesn't seem that fresh to me anymore. I
I
don't
was,
know
I
about
was gonna,
you.
I'd love their explanation of how it's fresh. That'd be interesting to know.
Yeah. It's like, here's a crazy idea. We're going to make fun of all the male characters in our movie and just, just make them into bumbling morons.
That's the first thing I thought. Is like, I'm assuming we're gonna get jokes where the men screw up doing things. Is that gonna be a great new fresh idea?
Yeah.
Oh, can't wait.
Except for, I think that guy from Bridgerton. I think he's going to be the only one who's not going to get that.
Why is that?
Well, he's brown.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's sufficient, though. I mean, you've seen that with Black Panther. They could have replaced, and I think he was the only good black male superhero in the MCU, the only really good one. I don't think the first movie was that great, but he was a good superhero.
Yeah.
He's really cool, and they, instead of replacing him with a different actor, they said, "No, we're just get rid of him." So I don't think it's sufficient to be dark-skinned anymore. I don't think that's going to protect men from being emasculated in movies, and I think the MCU is particularly guilty of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually struggling to think, is there a single classic hero from movies that have had the modern remake and the update for the modern audience treatment? Is there a single male hero that you can identify that hasn't gone through that treatment in the past year? Because
Maverick.
I was going to say Maverick was
yeah.
obviously the exception with the Top Gun, but other than that, every time one of them comes in, you get some sort of deconstruction or belittlement or some sort of emasculation.
Yes.
That part about Black Panther is super interesting, by the way, because if I remember correctly, the first few weeks of when Chadwick died, I remember a lot of sentiment was like, the character stops with him. You do not, like, a lot of the public felt that way, and then Marvel came out and they're like, whoa, we're not going to recast it. We won't. But by the time the film came out, a lot of people were like, you should recast the character. The character should keep going. Chadwick probably would have wanted to pass it on. I remember that a lot of sentiment had changed dramatically by the time they actually got to the release.
I mean,
of the
he
film.
literally did want it to be recast. Like that was one of his stipulations. He's like, look, it's bigger than me. Like this role is, this character is bigger than just the actor playing him. I would rather he was recast than you just slot someone else into that role.
Look at James Bond.
Yeah, and it's like, why not honor his wish and just recast him? They did it with Rhodey, like with Don Cheadle getting replacing Terrence.
I suppose the comparison would be Hulk, right? Because that's like a pretty significant character. There's a whole movie for him, and then they still recasted him. It's possible.
Yeah.
Instead, we got.
Well, I guess we can't. They can't do it anymore, right?
No, it's too late now.
Yeah. So.
Yeah,
well, in canon, he's dead. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unless they do it through the multiverse, which nothing counts.
Oh God, yeah. Like,
they might do that now that I think about it.
Yeah, there's always that.
Yeah.
But this trend is one of the most horrible and exhausting ideas of modern cinema. This idea of like the male lead has to be emasculated. He has to be brought down a peg. He has to be deconstructed. Because like apparently in the eyes of modern Hollywood, a straight white male is not allowed to be like just a hero. He's not allowed to be good at anything, and he's not allowed to just do something genuinely inspiring and heroic. And I just think
he's a cat.
Well,
Puss in
there is
Boots.
that, yeah. Yeah, I like.
I will never
fantastic
stop
movie.
talking about that movie.
Dude, I suppose
But,
that's
like,
another
to-
example because that's
but then it's not voiced by a white man. It's
Exactly.
Oh,
a
that's-
Hispanic actor.
And he's a
I
cat,
guess
and
so,
he's a cat, so he can be heroic. Yeah.
Genuinely, like I could like happily listen to Antonio Banderas just like talk to me all day. Like he could read off his laundry list, and I would be like happy to listen to it. But
Yeah.
like when it comes to these characters, I just think like imagine being a little kid growing up now, right? If you're like a little boy who happens to be white and happens to be probably straight, like what
Timmy.
is your heroes? Like what do you look up to in cinema? Because as far as I can tell, you're probably going to be told that you're flawed, you're broken, you're toxic, you're evil, you're stupid, and you need to be corrected by someone better than you. That doesn't seem like a very inspiring thing to present to people.
And that was my problem with the Oscar, best film nominations, because aside from Top Gun, which was great, if you look at the movies were good. The Whale, all these other movies we talked about earlier, they were good, but the representation of the men was very, it was very emasculated. It was very broken down, very, even a movie that I chose not to watch, it's called Talking Women. I just looked at the synopsis, and it's about how this colony of women find out that the men are doing something weird, and what they're doing is that they're drugging them and raping them. And now they have to figure out what to do with this information. And it's like, even like not being a guy, I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of seeing men in that position all the time, that constantly being told like that they're so terrible and toxic and destroyed and pathetic and whatever other synonym and you can come up for that.
Yeah. Like I would be fine if there was some variation. Like if there was, I say you want to do that deconstruction of certain characters, okay, fine. Like, but then you have other characters that are just kicking ass and like still doing, the great things that you would want from your heroic leads.
Tom Wick's going, right? He's still going. People like the fourth one a lot, apparently.
I mean, there is that.
Extraction. I don't know the character name, but the Extraction guy is getting a sequel.
I mean,
Extraction was good.
Extraction was good. Good fun movie, but it was not a big cultural touchstone, if you know what I mean. Like it doesn't have a great platform. It's just like a fairly niche action movie, which was great fun.
Or even the new Guy Ritchie film, Operation Fortune. Jason Statham is great in it. There's no deconstruction of the hero in that. But it's just not that. It's not going to be that big of a movie.
That's the problem. I think like a lot of the movies that give you kind of what you might be looking for in your leads, they are probably going to be low budget stuff, like relatively low profile. It's good that they're getting made, but it's like they're not going to make an impact on the overall sort of culture of Hollywood filmmaking, and that's I guess the problem. I don't know how you get past that.
The only good the only male representation last year that I really enjoyed, which I actually thought was the best movie of last year, was RRR. That was brilliant. That was
great. Yeah,
that was like bromance, the way it used to be when Hollywood was good. It was excellent. Great show.
Well, it's funny because like I see that movie and like I remember watching it at the time, and like there's times when it's like you show like a really close friendship between these two guys, and I thought if this was made in Hollywood, they would 100% be gay for each other, like no doubt about it. But it's like
they're hugging and they're very touchy feely. I don't know if that's an Indian thing.
I think it's maybe a bit of a cultural thing there.
It is.
Like
my parents we were talking about how in India you see a lot more, camaraderie touching in the Indian culture between men than you see in others.
Yeah. But like,
I thought it was entertaining as hell. But what did everyone think of the script here?
Well,
RRR.
Yeah,
this is diversion, but like I like the fact that it keeps reversing the roles. Basically, it puts like one side in like the disadvantage. It plays on the idea of like, well, where does a friendship lead you in terms of like when you discover things about the other person that you didn't know but you still know that they like were willing to risk their life to help you. So like that aspect of it's fine. Like I always like when it comes to like Bollywood cinema like this, or Tollywood, I think it is in this case.
Yeah.
I don't judge it by exactly the same standards that we would over here, because like it's done from a different like philosophical standpoint. Like it's all a little bit heightened, it's all a little bit melodramatic, it's all a little bit over the top. And so I wouldn't quite like I wouldn't quite be as critical as I would be of something that was made in the West, because it's trying to do a different thing, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say my
Very
biggest
well.
criticism of that film would be the presentation of the British in India, because I think the British Empire gets a very bad rap, very bad
Fucking
rep. And
hilarious
as an
in that
Irishman,
film.
They are full on evil Darth Vader.
they are
Dude,
like
Ray Stevenson, what did he think he was doing in that film? I don't know. You are playing
Was
a
it-
literal cartoon character known as
Was it
British man.
Alison Doody that was the woman in that? I think it was. It was like she was in Indiana
She was good.
Jones 3, like the Last Crusade. I think that was her.
was she
but
the
yeah,
good guy, the one good British
No,
person?
no. She
No.
was
She
fully
was the
evil.
evil one.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
Okay.
She was the one like,
good
no,
British
torture him more.
And by the way, I'm fine with the British being portrayed as evil. I find it hilarious a lot of the time because it's so. I guess it's just made to make other countries feel better. Like, 'cause those
I mean,
non-British, they're soulless beings. He's like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Well, it was made from an Indian perspective, and so like I guess they're gonna see the British as like colonizers. They were like an imperial presence that like
Yeah.
ruled the country with an iron fist, and so yeah, like again, I can forgive it to some extent because it's skewed from a certain angle, from filmmakers who have a perspective on it, and it's just that's the culture.
Food is evil and erotic and chat. That's true. And someone else said, like me, a German, hearing about how hard it is that you guys get portrayed as evil in films. It's like, hey, hang on. It is the meme. British and Germans. We are the evil people in the films.
Yeah, we
it's always
are.
British and German.
Not Irish though, so you're all right, man.
The Irish
Well, we
are
never
always
had
the
a
fun
chance.
characters. They get
We
to be
never
the
had a
fun-
chance. I'm sure if the Irish had a chance, we would have gone off and built our own empire and committed our own crimes and all the rest of it. But unfortunately, we didn't get that chance.
We didn't
That-
get
that
a
is why
chance
I
to do
jo-
war
I-
crimes. We
I
would have.
enjoyed. That's why I enjoyed The King's Man, because like the villain in that is Scottish, and he's evil because like he just wants Scottish independence.
Oh.
That bastard.
They've enslaved my beloved Scotland. It's great.